So this talk is called The Computer Scientist and the Cleaner. Or another title would be A Short History of Sexism in St Andrews. Or The Most Important Problem for Computing. Or, if you're not uncomfortable for the next few minutes, this hasn't been a good talk. What is this talk really? I want to tell you about my opinions about gender balance and inclusiveness in computer science. This is clearly not examinable, not assessed, it's a talk. Okay? It is something I think you should be exposed to, not because you're first year computer scientists, but because you're computer scientists. I think all computer scientists should think about this. So, let me start with a story. It's really not a very good story. I wrote it, and the entire story is on this slide. Okay? It's a story. The computer scientist and the cleaner had a long and happy marriage. One of their few arguments was when she forgot their wedding anniversary, but their marriage was strong, and he forgave her. It's heartwarming, isn't it? And there's that tension in the middle. It's not a good story. One of their few arguments was when she forgot their wedding anniversary. I want to ask you a question. I'm not looking for answers. I don't want you to shout out or raise your hands or anything. Just think. Who forgot the anniversary? There's a computer scientist and there's a cleaner, and they're married. One of them forgot the anniversary. I like to say, I'm not looking for answers. I'm looking, but I don't want to ask you, but what I've got, another way to answer this question is I'm going to ask Google. What I'm going to do is, what I did do, I put the word computer scientist into Google Images, and I just, whatever came up, that's what's on the next slide. This was not rigged in any way. Okay? And here we are. And we go, well, there's a woman there, and there's a woman there. Otherwise, and that's a website called smartgirl.org. Otherwise, men. What about cleaner? Same thing. I just put in cleaner, that's what came up, and what it is, it's woman, woman, man, woman, woman, man, woman. We've got a robot, we've got a movie, overwhelmingly women. In neither case is it single sex, in both cases it is clear that Google thinks the woman is the cleaner and the man is the computer scientist. And the really interesting thing about this is this is an automatic search, right? So all the links on the web tell Google that men are computer scientists and women are cleaners. Like I said, I'm not looking for an answer. I just want you to think, when you heard the story, did you think, oh, computer scientist man? Or did you think, I wouldn't be surprised, because you're all smart people, and I said, oh, this is a talk about gender, and put that. So if you thought, well, I would have thought it was a man, but I bet it's a woman. That still counts as, there's a gender preconception in your head about men and women. And the first question I expect somebody to ask is, well, tell me, which was it? And the answer is, I'm not going to tell you. It's just a story. It's there on the page. It's just a story. What matters is the following facts. If you're a woman, and if you've heard P for computer scientist for your entire life, you might think that computer science is not for you, because it's for people with a different gender pronoun. And that's something to think about. Okay, so that was a sort of introduction. Now I'm going to talk about gender balance in computer science. So we can do it on this. Ian has left the room. But on this module with two teachers, it would be absolutely impossible to get a more representative gender balance with only two people, right? One woman, one man. That is perfect. Okay, let's have a look at the entire staff of the school, the teaching staff of the school, and you might come across all of these individuals. Okay, so teaching fellows, and what I'm going to do, just to let you know, I'm going to start at the most sort of junior grade in some sense, and gradually go up the sort of pecking order. So 4 women, 1 man, that's maybe not what you expect, that's only 20% men. What about lecturers? Well, there's there's quite a lot of men, and there's 4 women. Those are people whose job title is lecturer. What about promoted staff? So people who've been a lecturer and then become a senior lecturer, or there's another job called reader, which is also promoted. It's a bit different. I can't see any women there. And what about professors? We've got 8 professors, that's me there, sledging. And I can easily outline for you the number representing women, okay? It's 0. This is in this school. Now, I want to be completely clear, we do not hire on sexist basis. And we're very, very careful. There's strict policies in place, and there's no claim at all that we've hired in a sexist way. But what this gender balance reflects is a major imbalance in computer science in general. And I think it's a big problem. I think it's the most important problem for computing, is the gender imbalance. I'm very careful with this word "for." I wouldn't say it's the most important problem in computing, because the most important problem in computing is probably writing good code. Okay? But for computing, I think this is the most important problem. Why? Why is it important? And why should we have more women in CS? I think there's 2 reasons. I don't know of any other good reasons. And they're 2 very simple reasons which to me are completely powerful. First, it's the right thing to do. Not words you hear out of academics' mouths very often. But secondly, computer science would be better if there were a better gender balance. What do I mean by saying it's right? Don't get me wrong, if you're a woman and you don't want to do computer science, that is 100% fine. Lots of people don't want to do computer science. But it's an incredibly rewarding discipline. I've been studying it more than most of you, a longer time than most of you have been alive, so I've literally been studying it a lifetime, and it's fantastically rewarding, and I don't regret it. If a woman misses that amazing opportunity because they're put off for any reason, that is terribly sad. And that's not fine. And everybody in computer science, in my opinion, is responsible for making sure that doesn't happen. Computer science would be better if we had more talented people in it. This is a picture of Karen Spark-Jones, who was a famous British computer scientist. She said, computing is too important to be left to the men. That sounds like, oh, lovely, lovely, that's nice, dear. She did a bit more than say that. She invented a key technique which is used in internet search all the time. And just to show that she was a little bit ahead of the times, she did that 20 years before we had the World Wide Web. Okay? So if you don't want women in computing, you don't want to be able to search World Wide Web, for example. And there are many other examples. Don't throw away half of the world's talents. Computer science would be better. This is a very selfish thing for me. I think computer science would be better because there would be better papers to read, computers would get better, and so on and so forth. Whereas this one, it's right. Women should have the same opportunities as men. Part 3, I want to talk about sexism. This is a very embarrassing slide for me as a member of staff at St Andrews, but it's true. And I don't think these are in dispute. First of all, the university is 600 years old. Its first female professor, that's a picture of her there, Ursula Martin. Our first female professor was a computer scientist. And let me give you a clue. In 1413, there wasn't a computer science department. Okay? In 1913, there wasn't. Right? Computer science is not an old discipline. Our first female professor, wait a minute, hasn't retired yet. She's not an old lady. Okay? And our first female professor hasn't yet hit retirement. 579 years in having 0 female professors at this university. Until 2004, this is not obviously the university, but until 2004 in St Andrews, the rules of golf for everybody around the world except in North America, by quirk of fate, was made by a club which it was impossible to join if you were a woman. Not hard, impossible. If women wanted to play golf, they were told how to do it by men. Totally unambiguous and to me shocking. For 595 years, we didn't have female principals. Now we do. Louise Richardson. Is sexism a problem now? Okay, 21 years ago, okay, we've got a female professor. 5 years ago, we've got a female principal. Is sexism a problem now? This is not in St Andrews, this is in the world. And the answer is very, very easy. The answer is yes. Okay? Some people think this is from a research paper. There's a link, you can go and read it if you want. And it's called Science Faculty's Subtle Gender Biases Favour Male Students. What they did was they got some CVs and they got scientists so they're applying for jobs. They got people to apply for jobs. I'm not actually sure if they were real jobs or fake jobs, but they got fake CVs to apply for these jobs. Okay? And what these figures show is the darker grey bars are the men, that's the women. On every category, the men were assessed better than the women. By scientists, not by, media people, whatever your favourite group to hate. Now you might say, okay, fine, the men were better. Well, the men were judged to be better, and you know what the difference between CVs and the men and the women was? The only difference was the male CVs had a male name at the top, and the female CVs had a female name at the top. And you gave them to people who were trained in judgment, scientists, and they said, yeah, he's better than her, and it's the same CV. Okay? So if you're sorry to be depressing, here's the good news. It's subtle gender biases. 20 years ago or 50 years ago, they were not subtle biases. At least now it's subtle biases. But that's not good enough. This was in 2012. Okay, so now sexism is a major problem in the world of science. I want to tell you about something called the Petrie multiplier. This is to talk about sexism again,